know this is not easy for you, and how are you hanging in there?
It's tough. I mean, it's very, very tough. But if you have good friends and your family support, it's just something that it's a horrible situation. But time hopefully will heal, and you try to get through it. But
is there a more inspiring underdog story than Rocky Balboa's? Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're diving into the heart-wrenching and shocking experiences of Hollywood legend Sylvester Stallone. Surprisingly, art only somewhat mirrors life, as the creator and star of the Rocky franchise, Sylvester Stallone, endured a far tougher journey than his famous character. From near-death encounters with his family to the tragic loss of loved ones, Stallone's life has been anything but easy. But that's not all. Did you know that despite creating one of the most iconic film franchises in history, Stallone never owned any rights to Rocky? Stay tuned as we explore his battles, Hollywood disappointments, and how he overcame it all. Let's get into it. Stallone's signature slurred speech and drooping lip are not an act, but the result of a traumatic birth. According to the Chicago Tribune, complications during delivery led to a severed facial nerve, partially paralyzing his tongue and chin. Beyond his challenging birth, Stallone faced numerous health issues as a child. He suffered from rickets, endured relentless bullying, and alleged physical abuse from his father. Acting out in risky ways, Stallone was expelled from 13 schools and broke 11 bones by the age of 12. At 15, doctors told him his brain was dormant, prompting him to take up bodybuilding. 6 years before Rocky, Stallone hit rock bottom, living at the Port Authority and scraping by with small acting roles and odd jobs. Desperate for money, he accepted a role in a softcore film, Party at Kitty and Studs, which he later described as tame by today's standards, akin to a PG rating. Stallone explained to Playboy that he was at his lowest point, choosing to work 2 days for 2 shuns rather than turn to crime. The film was never widely released, but after Rocky became a hit, Stallone was offered $100,000 to buy the rights, presumably to suppress its distribution. He declined, saying, "I wouldn't buy it for $2, and his lawyer advised the producers to move on. Interestingly, while filming Rocky IV, co-star Dolph Lundgren nearly delivered a blow that could have seriously injured Stallone. At the Cannes Film Festival, Stallone recounted an intense experience with Swedish karate master-turned-action star Dolph Lundgren. Initially, Stallone despised Lundgren, which actually worked well for their roles in Rocky IV, where the two characters were meant to hate each other. However, their personal animosity created tension on set. Eventually, Stallone told Lundgren to strike him for real, encouraging him to give it everything he had. Stallone admitted that this was a reckless request. Lundgren, taking it seriously, delivered a punch that almost caused serious harm, sending Stallone to the hospital. He was airlifted to St. John's Hospital in Los Angeles, where he was treated for a bruised heart and spent several days in intensive care. Stallone's health issues had started months earlier during a training scene in Wyoming, where he described feeling as if he'd been hit by a streetcar named Drago. Despite the near-fatal punch, the two remained close friends, with Lundgren expressing admiration for Stallone's fighting skills. Lundgren noted how impressed he was by Stallone's commitment to the physical demands of the film. In addition to his physical struggles, Stallone faced another personal challenge when his son, Sergio, was diagnosed with autism. At the time, advancements in autism research were limited, making the news incredibly difficult for Stallone and his then-wife Sasha. They told people in 1985 that they each dealt with their son's struggles in their own way, with Sasha taking on most of the caregiving while Stallone focused on his work. Stallone was heartbroken by his inability to connect with Sergio, describing the experience as needing to become more of a playmate than a father figure. He admitted that he had to set aside his ego and adapt to his son's world. Stallone also noted that he had to focus more on his older son, Sage, partly due to his emotional distance from Sergio. Stallone's eldest son, Sage, with whom he shared a close bond, tragically passed away at just 36 years old in July 2012. Sage died from a heart condition called atherosclerosis, where cholesterol and fats block the arteries, restricting blood flow. This cardiovascular disease caused a heart attack, which ultimately claimed his life, as reported by CNN. The loss was made even harder by media speculation that Sage was on drugs at the time, though these allegations were later proven false. Sage, who had a promising future, appeared in several of his father's films, including Rocky V and Daylight, and was engaged to be married when he died unexpectedly. Stallone shared his grief in a deeply emotional statement, saying there is no greater pain for a parent than losing a child. He asked for respect for his son's memory and compassion for Sage's mother, Sasha, acknowledging that the loss would affect their lives forever. He described Sage as their first child and the center of their world, urging everyone to allow his son's memory and soul to rest in peace. Stallone also had a strained relationship with his half-sister, Toni Fellini. According to Page Six, during Stallone's peak fame, he reached a confidential multi-million-dollar settlement with Toni in 1987, which was described as a shakedown by some sources. Stallone reportedly agreed to pay his half-sister, Toni Fellini, over $16,600 per month for the rest of her life, along with a lump sum of $2 million and a $50,000 annual trust for her medical and psychiatric expenses. Toni had accused him of personal injury, including physical harm, which Stallone denied. Stallone's mother, Jackie, dismissed the claims as a shakedown, revealing that Toni was taking 65 OxyContin pills a day and had threatened Sylvester. She added that a drug addict would do anything, and when Sylvester became famous, he tried to help her, but she took advantage of his generosity. According to Jackie, his lawyer advised him to give Toni something just to silence her. Toni passed away in August 2012 at 48, just a month after Stallone's son, Sage, died. Just months after the tragic deaths of his son and sister, Stallone faced another heartbreaking moment when he learned his daughter, Sophia, would need heart surgery. Sophia had undergone her first cardiac operation as an infant to correct a heart defect. While that procedure was successful, she needed another surgery at 16 for a heart valve issue. Stallone was understandably heartbroken, but fortunately, the surgery was a success. Stallone's wife, Jennifer Flavin, shared that Sophia most resembled her father, noting that, like him, she had read nearly all of Shakespeare's works. They shared a special bond, thinking alike, and even having similar gestures. Jennifer said, "Sophia is the love of his life," and remarked on the painful year Stallone had endured. Though devastated, Sylvester refused to talk about the loss of his son. Thankfully, Sophia's surgery was successful and her health improved. Sophia Stallone graduated from the University of Southern California in May 2019, where she studied communications with a minor in entrepreneurship and film. If Sylvester Stallone's Instagram is any indication, he's a huge dog lover. But the family experienced another tragedy in 2013 when their beloved pet, Phoebe, was killed by a coyote. TMZ reported that Phoebe went missing in the Stallone family's Bel Air neighborhood. The family was desperate to find her, posting flyers and offering a $10,000 reward. But Phoebe was found dead on their property. Stallone's representative stated that her death was extremely difficult for the family. This heartbreaking loss wasn't the only pet-related tragedy Stallone endured. Before achieving success with Rocky, a financially struggling Stallone was forced to try and sell his beloved bull mastiff, Butkus, for $100. Stallone revealed that he had to make that decision because he couldn't afford to feed the dog properly. Tragically, he only received $50 for his loyal companion. When Stallone later sold the Rocky script, he asked the man who had bought Butkus, a person named Jimmy, if he could buy the dog back. Jimmy refused. However, Stallone eventually paid Jimmy $3,000 and gave him a small role in the film, ensuring that he was reunited with his four-legged friend. In retrospect, that $3,000 must have felt like a small price to pay for such a meaningful reunion. Sylvester Stallone nearly lost his 19-year-old half-brother Dante in a violent attack, according to TMZ. The incident occurred near Florida State University, where Dante was brutally assaulted by two men while on his way back from a late-night Taco Bell visit. The attack left Dante severely injured, and his roommates had to call 911 because he was struggling to speak. The police report did not indicate a clear motive, and Dante did not know his attackers. He sustained a split palate, a shattered jaw, and extensive dental damage, including broken and knocked-out teeth. Dante had to be hospitalized for several weeks and underwent reconstructive surgery. Sylvester described him as a wonderful young man, a straight-A student with no history of trouble, calling the situation tragic and incredibly sad. Despite making significant money from the Rocky franchise, Sylvester Stallone felt he was shortchanged, especially considering that he created the entire franchise. Stallone shared with Variety that he earned around $2.5 million for the 1976 film, which included $25,000 for writing the screenplay and $360 per week during the 25-day shoot. His pay for acting was around $2,000, and much of his earnings came from his 10 net points, his share of the film's net profits. He made $75,000 for Rocky II in 1979 and $120,000 plus millions from net points for Rocky III in 1982. However, Stallone admitted he could have earned much more and spent years feeling resentment about not owning any rights to the franchise. He explained that he had no ownership of Rocky, even though every aspect of the film, from the dialogue to the grammatical errors, was his creation. He was told, "You got paid, so why complain?" But he was furious. Stallone revealed that his attorney even suggested that pursuing the rights wasn't worth it, a tough pill for him to swallow after putting so much of himself into the story. By the time Rocky Balboa was made, Stallone said he was in a weak position to demand any changes. A Rocky producer, however, insisted that Stallone made money from every aspect of the franchise and continues to do so. Stallone confessed that although the system ensured that his family is well taken care of, he feels like the definition of Hollywood is someone who stabs you in the chest and doesn't even hide it. Like, share, and subscribe for more such inspiring content. Thank you for watching.